This is the Friday Night Fever Afterburn, sponsored by Peden Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome to Friday Night Fever Afterburn, week 4 of the high school football season, or the final week for the one and only Kaleigh Tingelstad.
I hate the sound of that.
We all hate the sound of it over here, but for anybody that's down in the comments tonight, make sure to, give Kaleigh some love, talk about, just the job that she's done in the Panhandle the last couple of years. This is now her 2.5 football seasons that she's done here.
Nothing better.
But a solid week to end it off. We had a lot of good action tonight. We're going to get into all of those games. Yeah, Kaleigh, let them hear it. Tell them about the bad decision I made calling the game of the week.
It was an entertaining game for sure, but I was giving Sam a hard time all the time. When I left the game, it was early in the second quarter. It was 40-0. Well, it wound up being 64-22. So a little bit of a lopsided battle. A couple of these tonight were a little lopsided. Holmes County gets the win, 34-13. Another really lopsided one. Mariana coming on the road, 49-0 over Bozeman. And then South Walton, they're getting their first win on the road as well. They beat Arnold 21-13.
And then we got Chipley with an 18-0 shutout victory over Vernon. As you'll see in the highlights later, of course, all the scoring happens in the second half when our camera is gone. Walton with a 48-21 home opening victory over West Florida. That was a big one for them. And then Bay High on the road at Escambia. That one went down to the final play. From what I was told, Escambia went for the game-winning 2-point conversion to win it in walk-off fashion. That is a 30-29 Escambia final. And we got the Sneads Pirates picking up their first win of the year, 25-6 over the FAMU Doctors. Jefferson County, 28-0. Go ahead, take those last two.
Okay, well, you already said it. 28-0 Jefferson County. They get the shutout over North Bay Haven. And then last night, our only Thursday night game, Mosley is rolling. 36-7 is the final over Navarre.
I'm already seeing your first fandom comment down in the from our Liberty County superfan,
Faithful.
John Brock. Yes, we had Allison Posey. She's still over in Tallahassee doing great things over there. Courtney Mims off in Arkansas. She's still doing good things in the SEC. And Kaleigh, she's got adventures waiting ahead for her. I see some Blue Devils faithful down in the comments. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, Kaleigh, take us to that absolute beatdown in the game of the week.
Yeah, we talked about it being an offensive shootout, and that was the case for Cottondale. They scored on every drive that I was there for, and they shortened a lot of Freeport's drives from fumbles, interception, you name it, they were doing it. They looked phenomenal tonight. This is a team that I've been really excited to watch this season, knowing, that experienced group, that senior class. These kids have been playing football for years now, and now they're seniors, so you can only expect greatness from them. There's one of them, Jock Garrett. I mean, the list goes on and on. You have Cam Odom, Jock Garrett, Tremont Collins, Treshawn Collins. It's so fun to watch those games. I mean, they all can do it. So a lot of potential for this team. I think they have a very strong season ahead, a couple good matchups later down the road that I think will test them a little bit, but they'll be solid for it. Freeport just couldn't get it going. Carter Noon's young quarterback. He has an amazing receiver with Julius Miles, but he just couldn't get it to him. And unfortunately, it just wouldn't happen for Freeport tonight. I know later in the game, JV would come in and or some other players would come in, and that's where the score kind of got a little bit closer than it was when I left. But it was all Cottondale the entire time. They looked phenomenal tonight, and they're going to be one to watch for sure this season. They're definitely going to be the team to beat this year.
Yeah, seriously, just an absolute. I mean, we talked to Coach Arns earlier this week. The high school Cam Newton and Cam Odom sure looks like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 3-year starter. He's prime for this position, and then he has the talent surrounding him. There's only greatness going to come from that.
Yes, and so far we have been 3-0 and picking excellent Friday Night Fever games of the week. I'll take this one. Kaleigh pushed me, she's like, I don't know. She was right. I was wrong. 64-22 Cottondale in our game of the week. We are going to head to Tommy Oliver Stadium. I put in 34-19, but then I saw on Max Preps and everything else that it was 13. I thought that Rutherford scored in garbage time to give him 19, but we'll double check that later. Either way, Holmes County won big, and the Rams got off to a hot start. That freshman quarterback, Jaleel Reed, and then throwing to the senior, Jason Havens Jr., they had a connection. Then just right after that, this was a very quick-moving first quarter because there were so many run plays. Holmes County going to tie it up here and make it a 6-6 game. Their 2-point conversion was blocked, so it's kind of a slow start for those point-after attempts. Holmes County defense, they came to play. That was an excellent tip and interception there. That's going to give them all the momentum. And then check out this pass on the next play by Race Griffin. The senior, he's come in a first-year starting quarterback, and he was just putting the ball on the money. A very, very wet field. I have some soaked, muddy shoes to attest. It was a very wet field at Tommy Oliver Stadium, so everybody's slipping, sliding all over the area. Check out this freshman. This is a freshman here, Jaleel Reed, just trucking people, and then watch on the very next play. This right here is why I believe he will be the best quarterback in Bay County next year. Chalk it down, right? Make whatever comments that you want. Yeah. I think Jaleel Reed will be the best quarterback in Bay County next year. There's going to be some other great guys in there. Hayden's got potential. Will Cotter, he's going to come back hopefully for a senior season. But Jaleel Reed, I think he is the player to watch next year. He just was dicing up the team heading into the half. They ended up not scoring before the break, so it was a 13-12 halftime score. And then Holmes County's defense, they just, held strong in the second half. Again, I'll have to double check later whether Rutherford scored. If they scored, it was like right before time expired. I think I saw Rutherford with a kickoff right before time expired. So I do think it was 34-19. Again, I know that ScoreStream Max Preps had the 13 in there. But either way, Holmes County pulling away big time in the second half. So how about them Blue Devils? We're going to head back down to the comments. I see a lot of love down here for Kaleigh. I see it looks like the orange and blue game in Gainesville.
Yeah, it was hard to keep track sometimes, but you had the white for Freeport and the blue for Cottondale, but it was a lot of blue and a lot of orange.
Hey, that one is typically the last couple of years, it's been a fun matchup. We talked about it yesterday, coming down to the final score. We've had comebacks in the last year. This one was Cottondale going, okay, we are the team to be around here. We are going to move into our next game, and that is where we are going to introduce you to somebody new tonight. That is Carly Koskovich. She will be moving in to Kaleigh's position as the weekend sports anchor here at the station. She has now shot 2 football games, one on a Thursday night last night with Mosley, and one tonight with Mariana. Just before we get into football, just introduce yourself. Where are we coming from? What's the love for sports? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, okay. So I'm Carly, and I'm from Arizona. I just moved to Florida about a week ago, so I'm still learning all these teams, the players to watch, and but my love for sports, I actually played high school football way back when. Oh my gosh, I graduated in 2020, but I was the kicker because I played soccer. And I went to the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State. And now I'm here in Florida and loving the Panhandle.
Awesome. And so out of everybody here at the table, there's only one high school football player. It's not me. It's Carly. That's for future reference. I played basketball. We'll move on.
Wow. Yeah.
We're just gonna get into the Mariana game. All we're really looking for is clearly it was a Mariana Bulldogs showdown. What were your thoughts as you saw Amari Clemens in real time tonight?
Oh my God. Honestly, this looks like a college athlete to me. You look at him and you can just see he owns the field when he steps on there. He's, like you said, dancing around these guys. And, I kind of felt bad for Bozeman. I don't really know what else to say. They were just being dominated. And I don't know. It was a hard game to watch, honestly.
Well, clearly, and I happened to notice on that first touchdown by Amari Clemens the Florida State armband. So
that's what I noticed.
I'd be keeping an eye on that guy because he's got a lot of options over there. It is again,
Ooh,
a lot of options
slick
over the next couple of years. And I know players, they'll wear different things. I'm sure for a guy like that, NIL money might come into the picture in the next couple of years, but. Yeah, this is a district opener for Mariana. Bozeman and Mariana in the district for the first time because, again, Bozeman's moving up in classifications this year. They went from the rural division to now 2A. So this was the district opener for both these teams. Mariana has looked just about unbeatable at this point. Kaleigh, did this come as any surprise to you?
Absolutely not. You know, what we've seen from Mariana so far, I got a glimpse of it in week 1, just the greatness that they would show us this season. And I love seeing the depth from this team. You know, we know Amari can do it. We know RJ Mays has options. Like, he's a great quarterback. But seeing some other guys come into the mix was exciting for this team, just showing the growth of Mariana football, going from, you know, no wins a couple seasons back. And now they just look like the team to beat. Everyone's watching Mariana. Everyone's excited about what this team is going to do this season. So putting on a statement, putting on a show like they did tonight, I mean, what a big win. And, you know, Bozeman, I know they're working through a lot of question marks so far this season, and they'll just continue to fine tune that. But an opponent, when you're trying to figure that out, like Mariana, not great for you. And Mariana took full advantage of that, getting the shutout tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. They're now 4-0 on the season, and Bozeman, what is that, 1-3 now?
Yeah.
So for a team that finished the year 12-1 and went to the Final Four last year, again in rural, this is kind of a welcome to the big league, boys. And so they are now 1-3. Mariana 4-0. We are gonna switch things up just a little bit because we still got Carly here with us. We're going to go to our Thursday night game because that is the very first football game that she has shot here in the Panhandle. She got to see Sammy Freitas and the gang, and it was a pretty one-sided battle.
No better team to start with,
seriously,
too.
This is, you know, largest school, best team in the area probably. Carly, tell us what you saw from those Dolphins last
Honestly,
night.
I got to start on that dance move right there. It was something. No, Sammy Freitas played great, and Mosley's a solid unit. I can't lie. That was a great intro to the high school football we have out in the Panhandle. And I do see John Brock. I understand. I'm learning that the football in the Panhandle is a little different than Arizona. Yeah. So I'm going to keep learning and can't wait.
Crash course.
You're right. And one thing that I've been telling Carly all week is, you know, me and Kaleigh have been watching these kids play football, you know, for the last 2.5 years. These same guys out here, we've watched them, we know the names. She's like, okay, you're just saying these guys' names like, you know, they're your friend, like you've seen them all the time. I'm like,
we might be a little obsessed.
Give it a few weeks. You're going to be throwing in Raiden Bruins, Lakavian Jackson, these guys, you know, Carson Griffin. She's going to be throwing these names around like they're nothing. But yes, a fantastic start to the week with Mosley now 4-0. We did, again, I do want to apologize to Carson. We did have one quick minor issue with not getting the toe touch touchdown last night. So, but a lot of great highlights. Lakavian Jackson, the Mississippi State commit, Raiden Bruins, the Rutgers commit. We've talked about him all year. You talked to Coach this week about another guy that's been stepping up on defense. Tell us, we see a sack earlier in the year. Tell us about what Coach told you about Will Arboleda.
I tuned into those highlights last night, watching those and just seeing Will. I mean, I saw a lot of greatness from him when I went to the game last week against Rickards, and was like, okay, this is definitely a guy to keep your eye on. So I was talking to Coach Whitten this week about him, and he was just could not say enough good things about him. The kind of person he is, the player he talked about, really just not being one that's going to follow guys. He's really his own guy, and it just stands out for him, and just such a talented kid. So there's going to be a lot of good things, just a junior, to see from him the remainder of this season and the next season. You know, we talk about the strong senior class that Mosley has, the experience, but they have a lot of juniors too. So it's very upperclassmen heavy. Those juniors are going to follow suit, take over this program, but they're just so fun to watch. Talk about missing that Carson touchdown, but you know, we'll get plenty more this season.
Like I said, we've already got a half dozen of them at this point, just 4 weeks into the season. But before we move on to the next game, any other final thoughts on those Mosley Dolphins?
Not really, but what I would say is in the comments, if you guys have some players for me to watch, and I'll keep an eye out for them.
Absolutely. Well, we will see Carly next week. She's going to hop on here, of course, taking over for Kaleigh. But until then, we're going to sign off and head back to me and Kaleigh. So we'll see Carly next week. But just checking back in the comments, I see a lot of love down here still for Kaleigh. I see Gary Starr. We saw him up at Tommy Oliver tonight. A lot of love. White Hat did a great job tonight. Nate, fantastic job down there sloshing around in the mud. I do have a 34-19 from Gary Starr in that game, and I see that Spencer has already done that because he's Spencer.
He's the best.
He's kidding me right now. Who's coming to Bristol on Monday night? That's a great question. I'm going to do my best. That's for sure. I'll be in here solo, but I would love to catch that Franklin County, Liberty County game on Monday. I do see some more love for the Port St. Joe football family. We're going to get to them in just a little bit, but obviously a very, very difficult week around the Panhandle with a lot of love going out to Chance Gainer's family. But again, we'll get to that next week, talk about their matchup as they come back to play football in just a little bit. Coach Olds giving some more love in there. Some Mosley fans. I see your Liberty County faithful. Those Liberty County girls, they do love you up there.
Yeah.
They do love you up there.
They're so fun to follow, so fun to watch. I know Savannah's doing some good things in college now, too. So we'll have to tune in and keep an eye on that as well.
Some love from Holmes County. They were talking about you on the sidelines tonight. A lot of love down here for Kaleigh, and as there should be. But we're going to go ahead and get to another game, which ended up as a one-score game. And Kaleigh may or may not have said that this maybe could have been the game of the week, but we won't get into that. South Walton and Arnold. Kaleigh, tell us about this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this matchup, thinking about the difference from a couple years back, these last couple years of, Arnold's the undefeated team and South Walton is winless so far this season before playing tonight's game. We haven't seen a lot from South Walton. They played their first game of the season on a Saturday night. There wasn't a stream. They were out over visiting Gulf Breeze. I know they were leading until the final seconds, the final drive of the game. They lost by, I think it was 4 points. And then week 2, they were also on the road and lost to Fort Walton Beach 9-7. So close losses to South Walton. We knew there was some rebuilding going into this season. J.D. Brown, first-year quarterback. He's only a sophomore, so there's plenty of room to see him grow. Receivers still pretty consistent for South Walton, but just a couple question marks. And I think this was a perfect opportunity for us to see them, for them to show what they had. It was a tough ball game, both sides. Not the cleanest game you'd see. Obviously, they're very muddy, but, clean-wise for football. Arnold struggled a little bit. This is, I think, the biggest opponent they've seen so far this season. Hamilton County. I guess they've seen Bay. Okay, South Walton's only 2A this season. Right. But just a tough opponent. South Walton's defense has been strong consistently over the last couple years, so I think this was a tall test for them. You see some issues on both sides of the ball, some awesome plays from both sides as well. But this was a tall task for Arnold, and awful way to go out on homecoming. But it's only a one-score loss. It was a competitive game, and it was a fun matchup to see some of the highlights. We got. I know you can. I asked our reporter that was at this game if the sprinklers were going when they were running, because it looked like sprinklers were set off, just them splashing down the field. So a little bit of a messy ball game. I think that had some play in tonight's game. But yeah, I mean, huge win for South Walton. They'll want to keep it going. I know it's a very interesting season for South Walton with the new stadium. They're playing on the road a lot. When they're home, they're going to play at the middle school. So interesting season for them. I know this was a big win for them, and that easily could be a play of the week this week. So keep an eye out for that one.
We've talked about that duo this season. Darren Elder, man, he can do it all. I saw him in the first week when Arnold got that win against Bay High, and I'm like, that's a guy that can help you win ball games. And Will Cotter, I mentioned Jaleel Reed as a favorite to be the Bay County quarterback of the year next year. Will Cotter, man, as a senior, the progression, if he took the same progression from his sophomore to junior year, then I'll definitely have to retract my statement on Reed. But he's really impressed me this year. But again, a tough way to end out on homecoming. Congratulations to Lily Cobb and Will Neely for our homecoming queen and king. Yeah. 2 student athletes. Obviously a great softball player, weightlifter.
You might see them on Sundays later in the year.
We'll see. But Will Neely, still my favorite quote of the year when saying we don't want to be a laughing stock in Bay County this year. You're 3-1. I promise that is better than anybody around here besides you guys had going so far.
They still look
season.
good. They still look good.
Right. No.
Way different than what we've seen in the past.
Oh, yes. Looking back in the comments, I see Mosley Escambia might be a good game next week. I saw, Bay taking Escambia. I don't know a whole lot about Escambia. I know they've had some good football teams in the past. I know they're a larger school. I feel like a lot of people probably expected Bay to lose this one pretty handily. They take it to the final whistle, so you got to give it to the Tornadoes for fighting over there in that one. We could see an interesting matchup with Escambia and Mosley next week, like they said. Cottondale, explosive
A lot of love
offense.
for Cottondale.
I know we're talking high school football. How confident are you in the Noles tomorrow? As Carly said last night on the Fox show, not that confident. I think they've got a good chance of winning, but man,
if
it's
they
been a rough
lose,
start to the
one
season.
fan said he'll eat a steak dinner if they lose. So that's a win for him. If they do lose, he'll get a steak dinner.
I guess that's better than what the other option was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, but Coach Norvell facing his old team, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. This could absolutely be their best season. I couldn't agree more with you on Cottondale. Man, those seniors, they are really pulling together. The Collins brothers, they're doing everything.
They looked like a complete team tonight, offensively, defensively. A couple things, penalties, things like that, but really not much. Coach Obert's got those guys in line, and they look polished.
3-0 for the first time since 2017. You heard it here first. We're going to go to the Chipley and Vernon game. Again, we told you we did not get a single score in these highlights.
Camera shy.
Chipley, they've been a second-half team. We really haven't gotten a ton of highlights of them because they keep scoring in the second half, but they pull away against their Washington County rivals in Vernon. A lot of people surprised at that 0-0 halftime score. What do you see from the Tigers? Are they just slow start this year? Is it signs of the future? What are you thinking, Kaleigh?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Coach Buchanan, when we talked to him ahead of this season, talking about maybe we are the underdogs this year. We're not the same team that we've been in years past. Everyone thinks of Chipley as just being this dominant powerhouse football program because of the talent, the depth, what they're doing over there, what Coach Buchanan's doing. But yeah, this is a little bit maybe of a different year for the Tigers, and they're having to fight a little bit differently to find a way to score, to get a first down, to do all of those things. I know they moved a lot of guys around. We hear those names that we've heard every Friday night for the last couple of years, still hearing their names. But, it's just a different team. They've been rebuilding the last 2 years, losing strong senior classes, and it's hard because it's just I wasn't expecting a 0-0 ball game to enter the half, and that was the case, but they pulled it away in the second half. They had that overtime victory a couple weeks ago in week 2, and then, pulled the victory 14-7 over Rutherford last week, and now 18-0 over Vernon. So,
hey, 4-0 is 4-0.
We'll keep watching them.
There's not a single thing wrong with 4-0. I know they've had, Vernon's number in the past few years.
Yeah.
But a shutout, you gotta love it. And
yeah, they're still doing things right.
I see Coach Buchanan's wife down there, proud of our Chipley Tigers. Hey, you should be proud.
Yeah.
4-0 is a great start. We do have the highlights. There, Spencer, look at him. I love it. I love that guy. We're going to move on to the Walton game. That one, of course, a big win for the Braves.
Yeah.
Facing West Florida, who was in their district last year. They're not in the same districts this year. West Florida, we said, moved up in classifications. Is that right, Kaleigh?
Yeah. Or Walton moved down to 2A.
Walton moved down. Okay, yeah, everybody kind of shifted.
And that was
this
one
year.
of those games that was close last year. It was a 3-point game. I believe it was one of either the walk-off or overtime games last year with Maston Joyner kicking a game-winning field goal. I believe it was 34-31 last year. So a close one between these two teams.
Right, but the Braves taking their home field for the first time this season. They started off 0-2. Last week they came on and just absolutely smacked a smaller Holmes County in Bonifay, and then tonight, again, opening the season, Wells Bettenhausen. He can do it in the air. He can do it in the legs. I love this one. He's like, I told Jamar earlier, he shot the highlights. I said, that clip of him, that picture of him leaning over the goal line, that's going to be on our website. So if you look and you see this Walton story later, you're going to see Wells reaching out and looking over the ref like, am I in? Am I in? Yeah,
Frame
you were in.
Put it in the locker room.
Oh, yeah. And coming into the night, I want to see his stats later this week. Coming into the night, he had a perfect 900 yards through the air, so 300 yards per game. That's quite the way to get
Yeah.
the scouts looking and going, okay, we said back about a month ago, just the one offer coming in, I bet those are going to start rising
Oh, yeah.
in the next few months. But Wells Bettenhausen, man, he can do it. And he's got weapons all over the field. He
Yeah.
shares the ball real well. He's done that in the last couple of years. He shares it. This touchdown, of course, was called back for a penalty. But again, the Braves, a big absolute 48 points. We saw them score 50 last week. Do you feel like the Braves are starting to figure things out a little bit?
I don't think it was ever a question for them. First of all, it's just so good seeing Walton back at home. I said that after our show. There's just something about seeing Walton playing in Yates Stadium, but I don't think they ever didn't have it. They've had some tough matchups, close losses, losing to Marion in week 1, and was it Crestview in week 2, I believe?
Yes.
I think
6-8
both
Crestview.
of those one-score games, I know week 1 was. So it was just tough losses for them. I think after what we saw from them last season, going undefeated, making second rounds of the playoffs, we thought it was just going to be the same, pushing through the same way. But, 2 losses doesn't necessarily mean too much by the time you get to the end of the season. Maybe they just had to figure some things out. And, now they're rolling. Big win over Holmes County last week. Big win over West Florida tonight. I know West Florida may be not as strong as they've been in years past. But again, a 48-21 victory, seeing what Wells has done. You talk about his stats, and yeah, maybe the scores haven't reflected it, but I mean, there's talent. They're working through it. There's a lot of guys out there, so I'm not worried about Walton football at all.
Again, Escambia pulling off the overtime victory over Bay High. Sneed's winning 25-6. We got Jefferson County shutting out North Bay Haven. And then again, Mosley 36-7. We did not have a play of the night, even though we had a lot of plays all over the area tonight. Let us know in the comments what you thought was the best play.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you because there's a lot of good ones tonight. We got the next week's matchups. Let's go ahead and get
A
into
lot of
that.
them.
Thursday night game, the 4-0 Chipley Tigers are going to be on the road against the J Royals. North Bay Haven at Baker, Rutherford at Arnold. That one could be interesting.
Yeah.
I would easily say Rutherford is our best 0-4 team in the Panhandle right now. They just compete every single week. And then Bay at Madison County, the Class 1R state runners-up last year that we saw hang 60 points on
That's
Bozeman
going to be
in
an
the Final Four.
interesting
That should be an
one.
interesting matchup, going to Boot Hill in Madison County. Kaylee, tell us about the next game.
Yeah, Franklin County. So they'll have a quick turnaround Monday night on the road in Bristol, and then they'll travel to Rocky Bayou on Friday. Vernon and Freeport. That's another orange and blue matchup we got there. Bozeman and Sneeds. That's going to be an interesting one. Sneeds picked up their first win tonight. Bozeman got that week 2 over Vernon. So, couple teams with a couple losses, 1 win. I think that'll be a pretty even matchup to watch those two. And then Florida State High School and South Walton. That'll be an interesting one as well.
Yeah, and while we were talking about Sneeds, shout out to Jason Patterson.
Yeah.
Sneeds alum at Kentucky this year. We saw, I think he was like one of the top 5, top 10 highest rated true freshmen in the nation last year. So that's a true freshman running back at the University of Kentucky.
Nothing we love more than
he
that.
was, before Amari Clemens, there was a Jason Patterson.
Yeah.
So we definitely see what you're doing over there. So shout out to
Nothing
Jason.
better than those Panhandle alums
You gotta
doing big
love it.
things at the collegiate
SEC,
level.
I think they got Georgia this week. I think they might have
Yeah.
Georgia this week.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's
Jason
in-
Patterson, touchdown against Georgia, calling it now.
Yeah.
Calling it now.
Yeah, I think it's in Lexington.
Northview at Holmes County. Blue Devils back in Bonifay. Port St. Joe at Destin. Again, for anybody that has been following this week, Port St. Joe obviously was just an absolute tragedy. Last Friday night, we mentioned it here on Afterburn. We didn't get into any details. It was still, fresh and sensitive. But of course, that is the senior superstar, Chance Gaynor, passing away last week on Friday night. It's been an emotional week, but we have seen a support from the Panhandle unlike any other. It has just been truly special to watch. I was in that gymnasium on Tuesday at Port St. Joe in the Dome. There's over 1,000 people in there, just teams from all over just coming and wearing purple and just, just showing their love for their brothers over there in Port St. Joe. Just a incredible family. Miss Gal and Mr. JJ, there's big Afterburn fans. They came on every week just cheering on for their boy Chance. And, we certainly are going to miss Chance, but we will continue on in sharing his memory and honoring who he was. And his Sharks are going to do the same this year because Miss Gal said, hey, go play like my son would play. Go and play for Chance this year. And the St. Joe, they're going to be heading back to the field at Destin next week. It'll be the Tiger Sharks versus the Destin Sharks. So a battle of the Sharks. But obviously not the stories that we like telling. But Chance Gaynor, he certainly was very special to everybody around here. Taylor County, they will be at Bluntstown. That's Bluntstown coming off of a bye week. They were 3-0 going into their bye week, so they'll look to keep their perfect record alive. I see some comments kind of talking about that matchup. It could be an interesting one. Jefferson County going to Weewa Hitchcock. Weewa, they're looking for their first
coming
win
off a bye
as
this
well.
week.
Right,
so
coming
yeah,
off a bye. So we'll see what happens there. Kaylee, tell us about these matchups.
Yeah, Mariana's back at home. W.S. Neal's going to visit them. Not sure what to expect out of that matchup. Miller County versus Liberty County. Liberty County's got a couple county battles these couple weeks. Franklin County this week, and then Miller County next week. Another quick turnaround for them as well. Cottondale versus Lighthouse. Not sure what to expect, but if we saw what we saw from Cottondale tonight, not too worried about that matchup.
I'm expecting 80. Calling it out, 80.
Hey, they scored 80 in their first two games.
80 points. I'm calling 80 points by the third quarter.
Okay. I'll tune in.
You heard it here first.
And then Escambia versus Mosley. We talked about that one, being a one to tune into for sure.
Yeah, is that the last one, Spence? Awesome. That is next week's games. Again, like we said on Friday Night Fever. Those are all your Week 5 matchups, and Kaylee will not be here for any of them. So clearly we are going to miss Kaylee. She's been here, like we said, for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Covering 2.5 football seasons.
Yeah.
She's been here pretty much the whole time. Like we saw some mentions of Courtney Mims in there, and we love Courtney and everything. Kaylee's been by my side for a long time now. We've talked so much football. She's, texting me on the weekends and telling me, hey, this kid's going on a visit here this week, and she loves these guys just as much as you guys do. And Kaylee, tell us again. We got to it a little bit last week. What's next? What are we gonna do? Tell the Panhandle how much you love them.
Oh, like I said, Friday nights in the Panhandle, there's nothing like it. We work long hours on Fridays, but every second of it is just so enjoyable. Getting to be on the sidelines at the games, talking to coaches, players, just getting to cover the special moments of football. It's just, like I said, there's nothing like it. So it's hard to leave. I've been very emotional this week about leaving, but living situations, it just felt like it was time to take that next step. My contract ended in June. Haven't found anything yet, but just going to focus on that. Y'all know Friday nights is already a full-time job, so just taking a little bit of a break and focusing on that, but I'll be tuning in all the time. Sam's going to probably have to block my number. I'm just going to be asking him questions, sending him updates, my opinions on everything. So I definitely will still be in tuned to everything Panhandle football because it is so special. And all the other sports throughout the year, I'll be tuned in for all of it. But just thank you to everyone, coaches, players, fans, everyone for everything you've done for me the last couple years and just the support. And I appreciate all of it. And I will miss all of you so much. It's going to be really hard. I hate goodbyes. So it's a hard one.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it doesn't even feel real. You've been saying that over and over this week.
It doesn't.
I've looked left for the last 2.5 years, and Kaylee's been there and, keeping me on track with everything. And I don't know. It'll be interesting moving forward. Carly's going to do great here, but we will miss Kaylee very, very much. That is going to do it for week 4 of the high school football season. And for the final time, give some more love in the comments. Kayleigh's Tingelstad, everybody. Yours truly. We'll see you next week.